Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. It is the rainy season. It is storm season. No worries whether it's storms or fire issues to your home or office. Water Cleanup of Florida has you covered. 954-579-0356, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. You can reach out to that number, and they will help you with any home or office water/fire damage. 954-579-0356. They were there for my wife and myself with our townhouse. They will be there for you. And with their certified, licensed, insured contractors on staff. And with over 60 years of combined experience between Michael, Robert, George, their entire team, they will find whatever ails you. They'll make it go away, and they'll make it look brand new. They are fantastic communicators, which is another thing. When service industries, you hope and pray that they're going to get back to you. You hope and pray they're going to get the job done. They do it all. 954-579-0356. Check out their website, WCUFL.com. Check them out on the socials at Water Cleanup FL. Check them out on Google with well over 85 stars reviews. If you have the schmutz, believe me, they have the guts. It was a gutsy weekend for the Florida State Seminoles. It was a solid weekend for the Miami Hurricanes. Tough weekend for the Florida Gators. Rough weekend for Clemson. And an interesting weekend for Deion Sanders and his Colorado Buffaloes. Plus, the NFL starts this week. We talk with Antwan Staley. He's covered the Dolphins. He's covered the Canes. He's covered Florida State. And now he covers the New York Jets and also the NFL for the New York Daily News. Joined us here today on the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
We welcome to the show from the New York Daily News, a beat writer on the Jets beat, and a good friend of the program here. We love this guy. Antwan Staley joins us here on the show. Antwan, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good morning, Antwan.
Doing okay, man. Is Rex Ryan coaching some of these people on being braggadocio before the season gets underway? This DJ Reed story is a big headline story today, at least in my New York Post. Where he has compared the Jets defense for 2023 to having the potential to eclipse the 85 Bears, who we saw here at the Orange Bowl. Their only loss sustained against a brilliant Dan Marino that night. And they were phenomenal. I mean, is this getting to be a little bit too much? What do you think? Or are there legitimate reasons to make these comparisons?
Well, yeah, you ought to see our back page this morning. I know you're a Post guy, which, I'll forgive you for that. But yeah, I think it's just a lot of hype. I mean, it's crazy to say to compare the 85 Bears defense is the benchmark. I feel like it's measuristic of all defenses, at least modern day.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, it could go 2,000 Ravens and the 85 Bears.
But 85 Bears is that benchmark, though, right? Like all those other defenses wanted to be the 85 Bears.
They're all great. Yeah.
They're the standard that everybody else measures themselves against. Yeah, I think the Ravens, Buccaneers, the Legion of Boom, like 2013, Denver, 2015. But yeah, I mean, I think you just got to go out there and do it at this point. I think I kind of wrote about this in the column yesterday. Like, all the time for talk is over. Like now we can just play games and just see how it all pans out. I do think the Jets would be a really good team, but to say they have a chance to be legendary, yeah, that's a lot.
Yes, and on the other side, obviously, everybody is in wild anticipation of Aaron Rodgers' debut, and there's reason to believe that there'd be marked improvement, and yet, very much like the Miami Dolphins, who you've covered in the past, they find themselves with. I mean, when you have like two big question marks on the offensive line, there are only 5 positions there. So that's like 40%. Yeah. I don't know where the Jets stand on that, but we know that the Dolphins are suspect possibly at 60% of the offensive line spots. So, I mean, where do the Jets stack up there? Can they hold up over the course of the season with my man Mekhi Becton out there on the right side?
Yeah, I find it weird that just about all the teams except the Patriots, really, although they have offensive line issues, but not as much as I think the Bills and the Dolphins and also the Jets too. I think the Jets, especially Dwayne Brown, he just turned 38. He'll be on the left hand side, and can he hold up? I imagine he can. He basically played on one shoulder last year, and then you talk about Mekhi Becton Can he sustain that excellence like we kind of saw his rookie year? Like we saw that we thought he's going to be one of the better tackles in football, and then of course injuries rise and he hasn't been on the field. But yeah, I definitely think they need these guys to stay healthy. Otherwise, it could get really murky. Last year they had 11 different players start on the offensive line. That was the most in the NFL. You can't really win with that much turnover on the line. Otherwise, it's going to be really rough for Aaron Rodgers.
So I love talking to you because you've sort of done what Defo talks about in the media, but you've done it around teams that we discuss, we talk about, and you've either covered them and you still keep an eye on them, but we first met you covering the Dolphins and the Canes. You've covered the Knowles. You are now covering the Jets. Before, I do want to talk a little college football with you because I know you still keep an eye on it. You're a huge college football fan, and you also still talk about it. But you are now doing a podcast, something where we are connected to, the Back Page on Believe Network with David Furones. I don't know if he was a guest or you're doing it with David Furones, who does cover the Dolphins down here, and I know you're really friendly with. So you do still have an eye on the Dolphins while you're covering the Jets, AFC East foes. And you were with when we first met you, you were covering the Dolphins during a different time. There's a lot of expectations. A lot of money has been pumped into the Dolphins, just like the Jets. And there's a lot of question marks around their coach, who made some questionable calls last year, and the talent. I mean, again, the offensive line is a big issue. When you're looking at the Dolphins this year, what are your expectations? What's a failed season for the Miami Dolphins?
You said a failed season or a good season?
What would be a successful season / what would be a failed season for the Dolphins?
Winning the AFC EASt, they got to win a playoff game. I mean, we talk about the Jets and their playoff drought. They hadn't made the playoffs. They have the longest drought in professional sports now. The Dolphins hadn't won a playoff game since Bill Clinton was in office. So yeah, you got to be able to put these playoffs together.
True.
Win the AFC EASt, and yeah, I definitely think that would be a successful season for me with the Dolphins. Winning the playoff, getting to the playoffs, winning the division, and winning a playoff game.
All right, we're going to see the Buffalo Bills opposing the New York Jets there on Monday night. I don't know. I mean, towards the end of last year, that they showed vulnerability. I mean, they nearly lost to the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson at quarterback, a guy who, while he looked good in spots, looked horrendous, equally so in maybe even many more spots. Are they suspect this year? I mean, there was supposedly some acrimony there. You're talking about Josh Allen and his wide receiver were supposedly at odds. The coaching staff. What do you make of the Buffalo Bills? I mean, should they not be favored to win the division again?
They're the team to beat until proven otherwise. However, it does seem like there's a lot of smoke what's going on with them between Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, and are they happy? And also, quite frankly, I feel like has the gap really closed on them? I think has their window diminished? Because I feel like at one time they were the team to beat the second best team in the AFC, and now I don't think anybody says that's the case anymore. I think people are looking at Cincinnati and obviously Kansas City, and you look at Baltimore, and now people are gassing up the Jets and Dolphins. Like, I just think the Bills are kind of lost in the shuffle. But anytime you have Josh Allen on your team, you're definitely going to have a window for success. It's just a matter of what that window is. But they got smacked in the mouth by Cincinnati last year, and that defense isn't nearly as good as I think a lot of people thought it was. But yeah, I still think they're the team to beat in the AFC East. But yeah, I think the window has shrunken to the point where they don't necessarily have that grasp over the division like they once did.
Everybody chasing the Kansas City Chiefs come back as defending Super Bowl champions. They managed to overcome the defection of some top talent, including Tyreek Hill last year, and still ended up winning the championship. Will there, in your opinion, Antwan Staley, be a changing of the guard as the champion of the AFC this season?
I like Cincinnati. I think it's their time. I just think it's hard to repeat. But you never count out a guy like Patrick Mahomes and what he's able to do. And I mean, he's all world. He might go down as the best quarterback of all time. Although I'm not. Some people are willing to put him there already. I'm not. You got to go out there and do it. And you don't necessarily need 7 championships to be the best of all time. But at the same time, he's still young in his career where he still has time to eventually get there. But yeah, I think Cincinnati just kind of, and then getting Orlando Brown Jr. Away from Kansas City, I think that was huge for their offensive line. And we've seen the Bengals they don't fear the Chiefs at all. Like, they've been able to beat them, although they didn't in the AFC Championship last year. I still think, Kansas City have the opportunity to beat whoever gets the number one seed. I think in the AFC is going to end up winning, at least going to the Super Bowl. And I think it's Cincinnati's time in order to do that this year.
So you covered the Canes. You went on to cover FSU. If anyone follows you on Twitter, you're still big with college football. You still are watching these teams. You're still keeping an eye on these teams. I did want to turn there for a second after, yes, we start the NFL this week, but we just had week 1 after week 0 of the college football. Very crazy weekend full of Colorado upsetting TCU, Florida State throttling LSU in the second half, and then Duke upsetting Clemson last night. Again, you were watching Clemson in that as well. What was your biggest takeaway of the college football weekend after those 3 things and more happened?
Like, Clemson is no longer, a power in the ACC. Obviously, FSU is, I think, the clear favorite to win the conference right now. You also got to put North Carolina there. Well, I don't want to take anything away from what Duke was able to do. I mean, they defensively, they're like an old school team. They pretty much just smacked Clemson in the mouth. Like, we're running the ball and then also, playing really good defensively. But yeah, I definitely think that was a big takeaway. You talked about Deion and what Colorado was able to do there. They only won 1 game last year. And then for them to go into hostile territory and then beat, the national runner-up, I think that's huge for that team, especially considering the amount of turnover that they had. So I think they're a team to keep an eye on too as well. And, talk about the Pac-12 as well. Everybody talks about the demise of the Pac-12, and yeah, it's going to come to an end, but all the teams won. Every single Pac-12 team won in week 1. And I think that's going to show their depth. They're going to have a lot of depth in that conference too. I think Washington has a chance to get to the playoffs there. We saw Oregon put 81 points on the board, although against a FCS team. But I definitely think the Pac-12 is going to be a tremendous conference this upcoming year, and one to keep an eye on.
What's your call on the UM Texas A&M game coming up?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Miami's going to play this year. I mean, obviously, Cristobal, I think, is going to do a really good job there recruiting. And, A&M is a team. You got 2 teams that are trying to, get back to prominence and, bounce back from tough years. Bobby Petrino comes to A&M and being Jimbo's offensive coordinator there. It's going to be a really, really interesting game. I'm going to pick Miami because I think they're going to have a much better year. I think Cristobal's going to do really well there. It's just Teddy Kane's give him time in order for that to happen. But yeah, I think Miami's going to end up pulling that one out. I don't know who's the favorite in that one, but yeah, I think I like the Canes in that game.
All right, sounds good. Antwan, best of luck. We'll talk to you throughout the season as we track America's team now, the New York Jets, who are going to erase the memories of Buddy Ryan and the 85 Bears defense, and at the same time light it up on offense as we put one more mark on the belt of Aaron Rodgers on his first ballot Hall of Fame stature. Thanks so much for being with us. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
It's always good to talk to y'all. Y'all take it easy.
All right, thanks a lot. Antwan Staley, ladies and gentlemen.
I really enjoy bouncing around football of all kinds with Antwan Staley. Yes, he is the beat writer, New York Daily News for the New York Jets, but covering the Miami Dolphins, he keeps an eye on the Dolphins, pays attention to them. He will, if you follow his Twitter, at Antwan Staley, he's great on Twitter, will sort of, I guess not report, but discuss the Dolphins. Covered the Canes. We'll cuss the Canes. We'll discuss the Canes. He's covered Florida State. He'll discuss Florida State. I think he was a Gator. Like, he's an alum. He's from Carolina, but an alum of the Gators, so he'll talk about the Gators. Big college football guy. He's covered Oregon, so he'll talk a lot of college football. And having covered the Dolphins and now covering the Jets, talks and covers the NFL, sort of, I think, in a sense, for the New York Daily News. Covers the NFL at large. So bouncing around the world of football, always a lot of fun talking to him. Says the Dolphins, for this to be a successful season, they have to win a playoff game, which is what I agree with. Says Cristobal, there's a big year. He expects Cristobal to turn it around, but this is a big year for Cristobal. Says the Jets, a little getting crazy with the hype train, but they should be interesting. We shall see. The NFL kicks off this week, Appreciate everyone joining us. Check us out mornings on South Florida Live, 7 to 9. Check us out with our national podcast, The Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And here with our South Florida content, The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.